our quest on Hilchos Tefillah. First of all, big shout out to Zev Bergman, who's here today, Baruch Hashem. He came back to Yeshiva. Gewaldig. Shkai for joining us. As Zev always says, they always come back. Okay. Also, amazing feedback from last time's share, which was the kavanas of Hashem's name, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, and everything else. We even got a gewaldige video from Shlomi Gutner, who sent us a video of how much it helped even him. So, Abba said, if you know anybody that you could send it out to, let the Olam know. You're going to have kavanah during Hashem's name. So today the emes says, I want to do a little bit of a continuation, but not on the Hashem's name, but in general. Very short idea on two specific halachas. And again, these halachas that we're doing now are halachas that I'm sure everybody knows. But like the Mr. Hashem says, we just need to remind the Olam the stuff they already know. So there's two halachas that I want to speak about today, in continuation to what we've been dealing in the last few days, which are things in Tefillah that unfortunately maybe just people don't realize, they don't know. As Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal told us, we quoted from the Sefer Hilchos Yosha, how important it is for a person just to know the halachas, and perhaps if you know it, maybe after that, maybe you can even keep some of the halachas. The two specific halachas that I want to get to, one is Kriyas Shema, which is a d'oraisa every single day, and the other one, of course, is Shemonei after that. So let's begin with Kriyas Shema in this way. First of all, when it comes to Kriyas Shema, so the Shulchan Aruch says like this in Simon Samach Aleph: Yikra Kriyas Shema bekavana, be'ema, be'yira, beriseis, v'zoyah. This is really, really serious. The Mishnah Berurah says, by the way, what does it mean that a person is meant to read Kriyas Shema? And again, this is halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Like every other halacha in Shulchan Aruch, this is a straight clear-cut halacha in Shulchan Aruch. That when it comes to reading Kriyas Shema, of course, you have kavana to be yotza, the mitzvah d'oraisa of Kriyas Shema. And if you're in this month, that's even better. But upon him, you have to read it b'kavana. If you look at the Mishnah Berurah, it's unbelievable. I wish I had time to go through it. He goes through the whole thing. That he brings the Ali Rabbah b'Shem HaKolboy, which is Betzim Yerushalmi, that Kriyas Shema's merumas Aseres HaDibros. I don't know how many people even knew this. That within Kriyas Shema, there's a remez, a hint to all 10 commandments. And if you look at the Mishnah Berurah, I'm not going to go through it now, he goes through one by one of where are the Aseres HaDibros hinted to in Kriyas Shema, which is why it is so vital for a person to have kavanah. This is a psak in Shulchan Aruch for a person to remember, which means pronouncing the words are very important. So much so that the Shulchan Aruch dedicates an entire, almost simon, but for sure a sif, into pronouncing the words. Right? Look at the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch. Samach Beis. Ava pisha mitzvah ledakdei ba'oisei. There's a mitzvah to me medakdei. That means to pronounce the syllables, each and every of the words, and that you have in Kriyas Shema. Korav v'lidit mem yoyotza. Lemaisa yoyotza even if you didn't. But upon him, you're meant to, as a mitzvah, have kavanah and be medaktik in the words. For example, the few examples that the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah brings, is like this. Al levavachem. Now again, you'll notice, Milsa de Rama de Inish Lavadaiti, the Gemara said yesterday in Shavuos and Daf Yomi. Milsa de Rama de Inish Lavadaiti means that when you don't think about something, it's just not going to be on your head. For example, Al levavachem has two lameds in between the words. Al, right, ayin lamed, and then levavachem with the lamed. Think about the next time you say, it's like saying hamotzi lechem min haaretz. How many people say hamotzi lechem min haaretz? And I ask people, did I say anything wrong? And they're like, no. What do you mean? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. What did I do wrong? What do you mean? I only pronounced one mem. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So over here we're dealing with the d'oraisa. We're dealing with Kriyas Shema, which means when you say al levavachem with two lameds. That's why, by the way, have you ever noticed in the Siddur, there's these lines? That's what it's for. It's all the places that you may slur the words and put them together and make problems. So if you look and concentrate on those letters, on those words, and especially the way the Siddur is formed, the way that we have it, you will notice that al levavachem is one of the examples. There's another example as well that the Mishnah Berurah brings, and that is, for example, of the Zayins at the end, Leman tizkeru, not tiskaru, tiz with a zayin. Very important to do that. Now, by the way, I'll tell the oilam a gavaldige zach. It's not. This is a gavaldige zach. Ready for this? This is a Mishnah Berurah. Chavetz Chaim brings this halacha and a ma'isa. It's unbelievable. Listen to this Mishnah Berurah again. Everyone knows this. I'm just telling the oilam to remember it. That's all. Avriel, put it on your head. You'll do this every day. I'm sure you do anyway. But listen to this. Mishnah Berurah Sikot and base in Simon Samach base. Yudla. This is gavaldige Mishnah Berurah. Ready for this? Even though the Shulchan Aruch paskins, Choni, that if you don't pronounce every single syllable, you're yaitza. However, ready for this? Be extremely careful. Extremely careful. Not everywhere does the Mishnah Berurah say this, by the way. Be extremely careful. Let's continue one last thing. Scholars, Rabbi, ready for the scholar? Tzvidov. Gavaldige scholar. Ready for this? This is a Gavaldige scholar. Ready? It probably is not negated to anyone here, but maybe asking for a friend. V'isa b'shas. There's a Gemara. The Gemara says, Hamadakdek behen. If a person is careful in the words of Kriyas Shema, to say every single word. You'll notice, by the way, if you actually start saying the words, it might take you another minute to say Kriyas Shema when you say every single word. You ready for this? Ready? Hamadakdek behen. Anyone's medakdek in it? Esrei, what's his reward? What do I get? What's in it for me? That's what we're. That's, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. What's in it for me? So what's in it for you? I'll tell you. Shemitztanin lo gehenim. Like I said, it's probably not negated to anyone here asking for a friend. But if a person chas v'shon lo aleinu lo leichem, maybe one time didn't avaida, so he needs to go to Gehenim. That person. Now it's very, very hot there. Okay, they burn you to a crisp. However, if you want to turn down the heat to make it a little bit more copable, to make it easy, like sitting on the beach where it's geschmack and relaxing, so just be careful in the words and the letters of Kriyas Shema. They cool down Gehenim. Again, not negated to you, but tell those people out there that they should know. They want a scholar to mitzanin loy Gehenim. That's what you do. And it's the Midah Keneged Midah. The Mishnah Berurah explains why it's that way. What's the Midah Keneged Midah? Ayin Shom, look at it up at the beginning of Simon Samach base. Al Kaponim Rabbi say, when you're saying Kriyas Shema, both in the morning and at night, say it a little bit slower. Say the words. Obviously, you have to concentrate on the mitzvahs, be makabel, oh Malchus Shamayim, Kriyas Shema, it's Gavaldik. There's the mitzvahs that are over there are unbelievable. But like we always say, before we even get to the kavanas, just say the words. First start with saying the words, and then move on. So Rabbi said that is halacha number one that I wanted to mention today. Next halacha, again, Rabbi said it's a poshut halacha, but I feel that we have to mention it for the oilam, and that is kavana during Shemonei Esrei. And again, this is halacha sheh. This is not a musa sheh, this is not a shkafa sheh, this is not an inyonei tefillah sheh, this is a halacha sheh. And I'm quoting you Shulchan Aruch over here. This is clear cut. The Shulchan Aruch and Simon Kuf Aleph tells us about kavana during Shemonei Esrei. Says the Shulchan Aruch, and I quote, HaMespalel, if you daven, tzorich, art scroll, need, right? This is what you need to do. Shechaven bechol habrachos. Every single bracha in Shemonei Esrei is a chiv in Shulchan Aruch for a person to have kavana. So you're going to tell me, what do you want from me? Well, every bracha in Shemonei. By the way, the poskim speak about it in the Mishnah Berurah. Maybe it's better for some people to look inside a siddur when you're davening Shemonei Esrei. Maybe for some people to close your eyes could be more kavana. Depends on each person. You have to know yourself what you have more kavana. Closing your eyes and saying it bal peh if you know the words, or looking in a siddur and trying to concentrate that way. Whatever it is, you need to have kavana. It's a psak, it's halacha in Shulchan Aruch on Hilchos Tefillah. Continues to Shulchan Aruch. What do you want me to do? Tefasti mubaloi tefasti, right? Kedushin daf mem. What do you want me to do? I can't do it. I can't have kavana during every single bracha. So Shulchan Aruch says, don't worry, we have an eitzah for you. We love you anyway. Lepochos yechavim ba'avos, ve'im lo kivim ba'avos, ava b'shechavim chodesh ha'bracha yachzev yispalel. Whoa. That means, at least, minimum, have kavana during avos, the first brachas. The first few brachas are brachas avos, right? They talk about Avraham Avinu. At least those. And if you don't, then you have to daven again, because you didn't have kavana. You didn't put a stamp on the envelope. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to reach the destination in that case. So what are you meant to do? By the way, the Shulchan Aruch Harav and the Graz and others as well, the Balatanya, they say that's not only the first three brachas, it's also moedim, and the chasimus bracha of every single bracha. But lemaisa, the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you have to go back and make a bracha. You have to go back and daven again. So I don't want to ask this one out loud, but how many people right now, according to the Shulchan Aruch, need to daven Shemonei Esrei again? Because perhaps we didn't have kavanah in the first few brachas, and the Shulchan Aruch says you have to daven again. Baruch Hashem, we have a Ramah, and the Ramah comes along and says, V'ho idna. Again, that's the days of the Ramah, okay? You'll see why I say that. Nowadays, en chayzrim, by the way, the Kaf HaChaim paskins even for Sfardim. So don't think Sfardim are different. The Kaf HaChaim paskins even Sfardim paskin like this Ramah. Says the Ramah, V'ho idna nowadays, en chayzrim b'shvil chesorin kavanah. We do not daven Shemonei Esrei again because of a chesaron of kavanah. Why? Because the next time he davens, he's also not going to have kavanah. So the minute Kamana, the Kamana Rebbe goes Meshiga when it comes to these things. That's what he talks about not davening Shemonei Esrei again. If you forget Yalav Yovo and Rosh Chodesh, if you forgot the first time, you're probably going to have kavanah the second time. Akaponim, there are more passing that you don't go back and daven Shemonei Esrei again. But Akaponim Rabbi say, think about it. Shulchan Aruch paskins you do. Okay, but good, we have a Ramah, we don't paskin that way. But think about it. Next time you're about daven Shemonei Esrei, maybe put a mark in your siddur. If you have a siddur, maybe put a mark. In the first three brachas, have kavanah, have intention, have concentration. Maybe underline the bracha itself. It'll give you a bit of a, maybe go out and buy yourself a siddur and put this mark in. Think about it. These are kavanah before Kriya Shema. Say, put a mark in there, say it slowly, try to say the words, and then put like a little picture or something of Gehenna with like putting down the temperature, so give you a bit of a reminder or something. Rabbi said these are halachas in Shulchan Aruch, these are halachas that we have to keep, and like we've always said from the beginning, all of these halachas are for our one purpose, is to help our kavanah in davening. Davening is our connection to the Rabbeinu Shalom. The Chovos HaLevavos says, why is it that we have the audacity to even ask something from the Rabbeinu Shalom? And how is it that the Rabbeinu Shalom answers our tefillahs? The Chovos HaLevavos says, I'll tell you why. Because when you daven, and you daven properly with kavanah and understand what you're doing, like Gemara Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Ches tells us, kavanah, Rashi over there, Al Kaponim, a person realizes everything's the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's not me. Everything is Hashem. Nothing is me. Everything comes from Hashem. The source of all bracha comes from Hashem. Everything I need comes from Hashem. When you do that, says the Chovos HaLevavos, you put yourself on a higher level. Mimela, when you put yourself on a higher level, you're ponim chodoshos balakan. You're a new person. The old person wasn't right to have his tefillahs answered. The new person is right to have his tefillahs answered. Rabbi say, the halachas of tefillah, I wish we have time to go more. Maybe we'll, at some stage in the near future, we'll get to some more halachas. I don't know, we'll do a part B on the series. But I'll upon him for the moment, that's where we're holding it. But Rabbi said, think about it. The halachas are there. If you have an opportunity to open up a Chelek Aleph for Mishnah and learn some of the halachas of tefillah, it's unbelievable. These are the most important things Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, almost before everything else. You daven every single day, understand the words, understand the power of tefillah, know the halachas of tefillah, and Be'ez Hashem, we should be zocher that all our tefillahs will be answered. Have an amazing day.